Welcome to
Turn that
News
down.
Nation Now. I'm Alicia Nieves in for Anna Koyman. We are following some breaking news that you are seeing right now on your screen. Gunshots ringing out at a church in Michigan, leaving multiple people shot as the building is now up in flames. The attack happening at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc. This is a suburb of Flint, Michigan. First responders arrived to a chaotic scene as churchgoers were fleeing from the fire ripping through that sanctuary. Police confirm the shooter is down and say there is no ongoing threat to the public, but investigators are still working to determine how many people were hurt and shot. What led to this violence? We are waiting for an update from police, set to happen any moment now. In the meantime, joining us now to discuss this further is former NYPD officer and president of Qverty Secure, Bill Stanton. Bill, I feel...
Now, before we get into what he has to say, let me say something. Now, as a Christian, I think you got to be one cold man to end up shooting up a church and setting it on fire. Absolutely wild to me. I will never understand it. But what I always say is that people deserve the punishments that they are coming to them. So, hey, if they do a crime, they got to do the time. But let's get over into it.
Like I've talked to you several times following one of these shootings. What are your thoughts and what are you hearing or seeing as it relates to this breaking news in Michigan?
Well, yet again, here we are again, Alicia, on these unfortunate circumstances where we see people going to a house of worship and some misbegotten soul, someone who is obviously mentally ill, feels the need to strike out and be heard. You know, we live in a culture now where people feel it's okay to do violence upon other people, and we have to find a way to end this sooner than later.
Bill, as someone who is formerly of the NYPD, when you think about what investigators are tackling at this moment, because this is not just a shooting where they're trying to pick up evidence, but I imagine some of that evidence is in that building right now that is on fire. What is probably happening on the scene right now?
Well, first things first, they want to know if this is a solo act. I'm assuming it is. They're going to want to properly identify the person. They want to make sure everyone is safe. And then they're going to do the deep dive investigation, getting into his social media, his cyber world, physical evidence, see what led up to this, and if there were people that were sympathetic to this, or if he was just an outlier acting alone that felt the need to strike out, and then obviously what was the motive.
How quickly could we see federal resources deployed there? And I ask that because I understand this is a community of 8,000 people, so I imagine a small kind of police department in the area. And not to say that they are not capable, but they probably typically don't deal with a massive investigation like this is likely going to be. So how quickly could we see federal agents and resources to help understand what led up to this and if there truly is no ongoing threat?
Well, the FBI has district offices, and if they're not already there now, they're en route. They should be there shortly. But you are absolutely correct. With a population so small, there's only so many resources local police departments have. But what happens with these surrounding small areas, they all support each other. So hopefully they have officers with ex-military, ex-intelligence, et cetera. So all of this comes into play.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone.
Absolutely tragic, absolutely tragic. But let's get over into this next video where we find out more about the suspect who actually committed this heinous crime. So let's get into it.
We begin with Madeline Rivera with the latest on that horrific attack in Michigan. Maddie.
Good morning, guys. That's right. Local police say they're working around the clock trying to find more bodies because, unfortunately, as of last night, there were some people still unaccounted for. The attack happened yesterday morning at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Hundreds of people were inside worshiping when police say the gunman rammed his car into the front doors. Authorities say he got out of the car and started shooting before officers arrived and exchanged fire with him, killing him. Police say the gunman deliberately set the church on fire. It was engulfed in flames for a couple of hours, and unfortunately, it is a total loss. In addition to the shooting and fire, Michigan State Police say authorities were handling reports of bomb threats in the area after the incident.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is now leading the investigation and is investigating this as an act of targeted violence.
We received 911 calls about bomb threats or other indications that there was a bomb at a different location. Some of them were churches, and we responded and cleared those locations.
I'd also like to acknowledge the heroism of not only the first responders, but the people who were inside that church at the time. They were shielding the children who were also present within the church, moving them to safety. Just hundreds of people just practicing their faith.
Police have identified the suspect as 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford from Burton, Michigan, about 10 minutes from Grand Blanc. Investigators are executing search warrants at his home. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer says violence in a place of...
Hold on, let's back that up some, because you know, we like to get a little, let's go through this. So he's a resident of Burton, Michigan, 7 miles from Grand Blanc. Former U.S. Marine from 2004 to 2008, served in the Iraqi War. Had a wife and son born with a rare genetic disorder, and appears as an avid hunter and outdoorsman. Yeah, it looks like it, but I wonder what. There's a lot of people saying maybe PTSD or something like that, but a tragic situation. What could drive a man to do something so senseless? Absolutely crazy. Let's keep going into this video.
Search warrants at his home. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer says violence in a place of worship is unacceptable. She's ordered flags across the state to be lowered to half-staff to honor the victims. Carly and Todd.
Madeline Rivera, thank you. With that, let us bring in former Assistant FBI Director Chris Swecker. Chris, are you hearing anything from your sources as to motive in an attack that you heard a member of the FBI call targeted violence?
No, but I'll tell you this. You can tell the tip-off is that the FBI has taken the lead. That means they're treating this as either a hate crime or an act of domestic terrorism. Targeted violence means targeted at someone or a group of people in an effort to intimidate or inflict violence in the furtherance of social change or political change. I mean, it's a convoluted explanation, but it's either domestic terrorism or hate crime. Regardless, that's, you know, that they have already actually attributed a motive to this individual already. So they must know quite a bit about him, his writings, his postings, interviews with his friends and family, his social circle, you know, anything that might have been in his car or his pockets. I think the investigation is deep into it at this point with regard to motive.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. How does the FBI, you mentioned some of the items there, but how do they begin really to piece together the motive, especially that focus on his time as a Marine? Because you certainly go to the mental health consequences of serving in our military that so many men and women encounter when they come back home.
Yeah, I've done some work for the military in this regard at Fort Hood, and you know the military struggles with this. You know, mental health is a big issue. Obviously, they have quite a few, disproportionate number of suicides. You know, this wasn't the only Marine veteran that committed violence over the last few days. We had one here in North Carolina at a place that I frequent, a bar restaurant in Southport, North Carolina. Marine veteran. Both of them had mental issues. Both of them had done a GoFundMe page very recently before the shooting to try to raise funds, one for the boat that he used to commit the shooting, the other one for his sick child. So, you know, this is a situation of you find a manufactured grievance, if you will, and then a whole lot of stimulus from people either on the internet or even politicians, irresponsible politicians. We all know who they are. You know, they're talking about Nazis and anarchists and existential threats. You know, they need to crawl back into their dark places. These people are out there. That has to be taken into account when you start firing off your mouth.
You know, to be clear, Chris, the shooting in North Carolina, Fox News has not yet confirmed that individual was a Marine, but we're working to do that and get that to our viewers. Finally, with these recent attacks on churches, do we now need to harden places of worship like we do many schools?
That's a good question.
Unfortunately, yes. When I do school security assessments, I tell them that your first line of defense, the gold standard, is an armed off-duty police officer, preferably, or a private security guard outside in a marked patrol unit, sitting, or at least with a marked patrol unit nearby. It's just your first line of defense. You have to have it. Among other things, access controls, security cameras, and your clergy and your deacons and your ushers all need to have some, need to be on the looking out for suspicious activities. There's sort of your ground radar, if you will, your eyes and ears. And then, of course, the parishioners and the family, when the red flags are raised, they need to tell somebody. In these cases, there usually are red flags going off or red flags being shown, red lights. There's something. They're in distress and they're about to go off.
It's so sad that it has come to this, because all people want to do when they go into a house of worship is have some time alone with the Lord. Them, their thoughts, and the Lord. And the fact that they need to think about this is horrific. Chris Swecker, thank you.
Absolutely crazy. So let's get over into an article. Just give us a little bit more information on this. Zoom in some so everybody can see it. So what happened? Move that out the way. What happened? The attack began just before 10:30 at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints branch in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, a suburb of about 8,000 people. The gunman crashed a vehicle into a building, then began to shooting at congregants who were attending the Sunday service. The fire soon consumed the church as well. Officers responded within minutes of the reports of the shooting. 8 minutes later, the shooter was dead after exchanging gunfire with the police. Investigators believe that the fire was fueled by gasoline or another accelerant. 3 makeshift explosives were also recovered, said James Deere, an agent of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. So the suspect, as we know, is Thomas Jacob Stanford, 40, near Buton. They say he graduated from a nearby high school in 2004 and then enlisted in the Marines, serving 4 years, including a deployment in Iraq in 2007. Neighbors described him as quiet, generous, and one recalled him how he plowed his driveway in the winters for free. He married a woman in 2016. Court records show the couple had a 10-year-old son. So the church that was attacked was a Mormon church based in Salt Lake City, Utah, which counts millions of members worldwide. The Grand Blanc Township Church was one of the largest in the area and steadily growing, with around 150 members, according to the Justin Jean, a 19-year-old Latter-day Saint missionary in the area. Each Sunday, congregants gathered for 2 hours for worship in the chapel, with attendees seated in pews singing from the green hymns. The attack came during the first hour. The church building was declared a total loss because the fire chief said that's what the fire chief said. So as of now, they're just classifying it as an act of targeted violence. Absolutely crazy, everybody. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, it's up to at least 4 people were killed during the attack. Absolutely wild, everybody. I don't know if he has PTSD or not. That's what they're saying. But I don't think you can't use that as an excuse. Mental health, yes, is a problem, but at the end of the day, no matter if you have a mental health problem or not, I believe that you need to face some kind of punishment. I don't care if it's a punishment that he has to be locked up for the rest of his life in a mental institution, but he cannot be out here with the public. He cannot be out here with the public. Absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know if you disagree with what I said, but it's a crazy world. Now, that's the question that he asked was, should we start treating these like schools, have security and stuff like that at the churches? Something like making a plan for if a church shooting happens. The world is getting crazy, and the world is crazy, and it can be a dangerous place. We just got to watch our surroundings, and it was pray for the family members of all the people who lost their lives. It's a tragic situation all around. And it's going to cost some money for them to build a new church. It costs a lot of money for them to build a new church. Absolutely tragic, y'all. Absolutely tragic. It's you never go a day without seeing something crazy. Never go a day without seeing something crazy. But like I said, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. All right, everybody, remember this is AC Reviews the Word. Remember to like and subscribe.